Good morning and welcome to sunny South Africa. My name is Janet Jarvis. I lecture at a South African university in KwaZulu-Natal and more specifically within the School of Education. I teach across both undergraduate and postgraduate programs, and my subject area is life orientation, which in our South African schools is a compulsory subject that seeks to cater for the self in society and therefore the personal, social and physical development of the learner. My area of focus is the social development aspect, and this includes looking at human rights issues, citizenship education and so forth. My own research interest is located within the realm of teacher identity and also religion education. I'm of the opinion that it's important for my teaching to inform my research and also for my research to inform my teaching. And as a result, emanating from my master's research followed by my PhD studies, I've developed a teaching learning strategy which I've called empathetic, reflective, dialogical restoring. I've used this strategy for teaching learning purposes, and I've also encouraged my students to adopt it as a research methodology. Empathetic, reflective, dialogical restoring promotes an increased awareness of the other and an empathetic approach to understanding and responding, recognizing that each individual has got something of value to contribute. The pre-service teachers I engage with are encouraged by the strategy to adopt a reflective attitude and to engage in self-dialogue to an internal audience as they consider human rights issues in particular. By engaging in self-dialogue, they can consider the I positions that they hold within their society of mind. These students are positioned from, or rather they are repositioned from objects of research to researchers themselves, and the potential exists for the integration of new understandings into experience. By opening to the possibility of learning from the other, restoring or the revising of an existing narrative can take place as new interpretations or clarified understandings are applied to dominant discourses and counterpositions to the same are adopted in their self-dialogue. As a teaching strategy, empathetic, reflective, dialogical restoring serves also to address the decolonization of the curriculum in the following ways. It changes how teaching learning takes place by empowering students as agents of their own learning. It facilitates transdisciplinary engagement when typically academic research is conflated with European colonialism and is synonymous with discrete disciplines of knowledge and tradition. It also encourages depatriarchization and also dispelling the myth of African inferiority. The findings of 3 recent small-scale research projects demonstrate the importance of self-dialogue and self-narrative when approaching content relevant to the lived experience of, for example, gender inequality, which was the focus of the 2017 and 2018 projects, and that of perceived African inferiority, the focus of the 2019 project. In addition, this teaching learning strategy attempts to decolonize typically Western methodologies of individual or focus group interviews and adopts instead the following: communities in conversation, communities in dialogue, communities for transformation. These communities, or talking circles as they are referred to by Chalisa when she talks about indigenous methodologies, provides the opportunity for seeking to know the other in a research context that is safe and in which all the participants take responsibility for the generation of new knowledges and by doing so become agents of their own learning. Students meet in what Nicolescu refers to as the included middle, and as they share their stories, they are empowered to build identity capital that can become emancipatory. There are 5 levels to this teaching learning strategy. Level 1 is that of self-dialogue. The audience is the society of mind, and the result is a negotiation of various I positions and a repositioning of voices in the society of mind. The second level is translating that self-dialogue into written self-narrative, again for an internal audience, but thereby producing own meaning and knowledges. The third level is a community and conversation where the self-narrative is shared with an external audience in a safe space. And in this case, there's a co-production with writers and storytellers in this community and conversation. Level 4 is a community and dialogue, again to an external audience, and again the co-production of stories. And level 5, which for me is perhaps the most important, is a community for transformation. Where are we going to go with everything which has preceded? The co-production of a possible new narrative for transformation. In each of the projects which I've referred to previously, there were key questions which guided the students' self-reflection in their self-dialogue at level 1, and then the expression of this in level 2, and then communicating this in a safe space at level 3 in a community and conversation. In the projects that focused on gender inequality, the men and women were separated from the other at level 3 to create a safe space for conversation to take place. And in the case of the third project, which took place last year in 2019, the South African students met separately from their Norwegian counterparts, each in their geographical context. At level 4, in a community and dialogue, the other met in dialogue with the other. So in the case of the two projects focusing on gender inequality, the men and women, having met in separate spaces at level 3, came together in a community and dialogue. And in the case of the international exchange in 2019, this happened via an online platform where South African and Norwegian students met each other. Level 5, or the Community for Transformation, provided the opportunity in each of these projects to reflect on and to discuss possibly transformed attitudes, new understandings of previously held narratives, and the implications for transformed classroom practice. So, what were the findings? Students reflected that they are far more aware of their self-dialogue having participated in this strategy. They are aware that this self-dialogue impacts their self-narrative. They are also sensitized to the possibilities of their dialogical self in action as they adopt counterpositions to dominant voices in their society of mind. They express the opinion that this teaching-learning strategy provides the opportunity for them to deconstruct socially constructed voices or positions as evidenced in their society of mind, and that this transformation begins with reflection. This was well captured by one of the 2019 participants who said that he had personally grown. He'd learned to be much more empathetic, much more reflective. The students said that they appreciated the opportunity to share their self-narratives with one another in a safe space in the community and conversation. The reciprocal exchanges in the community and dialogue and at level 5 in the community for transformation increased and strengthened identity capital, and in particular, the women in the 2017 and 2018 projects said that they felt empowered, that they gained confidence as they voiced their opinions and shared their lived experiences without being judged. The Community for Transformation, Level 5, provided the opportunity for the participants to think critically about processes of socialization and to discuss and to begin the process of deconstructing the same. becoming agents of change, constructing a narrative in which they have some ability to direct future-oriented action. One of the participants said this: "I think that this methodology is helpful, constructive, and transformative, and that it gives you an opportunity to sit back and self-reflect on the topic, and further gives you a particular worldview to think about other people as well as understand their actions." Sabelo said, "I found this strategy to be helpful, especially at level 1 and 2, where one had to listen to different voices in their society of mind before one takes a decision. It gives you possible ideas to question yourself, to say, what can you change? How can you do that? Why should you act in that particular way?" And Andile said, "This strategy transforms the way you perceive attitudes in other people. We need to go out there as changed men and women so that we will be transformed parents to our children." With regard to the geographical boundary crossing project in 2019, the success of this strategy was actually the whole process. The two groups of students found each other in their common humanity, in the Norwegians and the South Africans both being English second language speakers, in their common goal to teach well and to be responsible to their learners in their respective contexts. The Norwegian students came to the community in dialogue, level 4, with the perception that the South African students would not be on a par with them. The South African students were nervous about engaging in dialogue with the Norwegian students, whom they thought would be superior to them coming from a first world country. And they went into the dialogue feeling intimidated. However, after the engagement, in which they were ably actively participating and more than able to hold their own, the South African students felt empowered. And so, in conclusion, what can one say about empathetic, reflective, dialogical restoring? It has the potential to be transformative for both the individual pre-service teacher and indeed for their classroom practice. Classroom practice is so often technicist, and this particular teaching strategy helps to facilitate classroom praxis, which is both reflective and reflexive. Students expressed the view that by employing this teaching learning strategy, they became empowered to become agents of their own learning as they troubled entrenched beliefs and worldviews and co-constructed or restored understandings. As a teaching learning strategy, empathetic, reflective, dialogical restoring facilitates the nudging of static disciplinary boundaries by creating open spaces for empathetic, reflective dialogue that carries the potential of generating new transdisciplinary knowledges in the space between, across, and beyond academic disciplines. Both self-dialogue and self-narrative were used to create open space stories when approaching content that is relevant to the lived experience of gender inequality and patriarchy, thereby engaging with and promoting a space for depatriarchization. And in 2019, the South African cohort of students, together with their Norwegian counterparts, focused on what constitutes best teaching practice. And this engagement was empowering for the South African participants, refuting as it did the myth of African inferiority. So I share this teaching learning strategy with you, based as it is on dialogical self-theory, and I just hope that it might start creating conversations. I know for me, it has changed the way in which I teach and really opened up spaces for conversation, for growth, for empowering, and hopefully for transformation of what happens in the classroom, but also in our wider South African society. Thank you for listening. I appreciate this opportunity.